Welcome to Pratidwani, where we try to humanize science. I'm your host, GV Pawan Kumar. It is my absolute delight, pleasure, and honor to introduce you to my guest on this particular episode. And it is none other than Professor Srubabati Goswami from Physical Research Laboratory, Ahmedabad. Srubabati actually has been a professor at PRL Ahmedabad for a long duration since 2018. Prior to that, she also has spent a lot of time in various different institutions, including Harish Chandra Research Institution, and also as a research associate at the Saha Institute of Nuclear Physics. And that also predates to a lot of interesting work and research she has done at various different institutions across the world, including as a Humboldt Fellow at University of Munich, and also her PhD, which actually is on a very interesting topic related to high energy physics and has direct connection to neutrino physics. And she was a senior research fellow and a junior research fellow at University of Calcutta. Very rich history of the university also. And she joins me today for some very fascinating conversation. But I have to also mention that Srubabati is a very well decorated scientist. She's a fellow of all the academies in India and also an international academy, which is called as the World the World Academy of Sciences. And she also has been J.C. Bose Fellow uh, and has played a very critical role in kind of leading some of the very important aspects related to physics in India. And it's my absolute delight to introduce Shrubapati on Pratidwani.
Thank you, Pavan, for very kind introduction. Sometimes you don't know that all that you have said, no? So, uh,
Yeah. No,
thank
it's an absolute pleasure. It is also very nice to always talk to an accomplished physicist and also a person who has thought about physics not only just as a pursuit, uh, but also as a very important area of research. And you also are the president of Indian Physics Association, which is also something I did not mention. In that way, it's fascinating to know how a physicist has contributed in various different facets, not only to her research but also various different aspects of research. That is something I would want to learn more about, how you manage to do that, where do you get the time, etc. But before that, let's actually go according to the chronology. Tell us a little bit about your origins and where were you born, and what was the kind of background you came through.
So, I was born in Calcutta, and my father was in the judicial department. He was a judge, and my mother was, she did her graduation, but then she got married and she was at home. And I have a lot of influence on me of my grandmothers. And my father actually had a transferable job. So, he would be going to different states of West Bengal. And then somehow they thought that they will keep me with my grandmother in Calcutta so that my education is not hampered. And so I stayed there. My sister also initially stayed, but then she wanted to go back with my parents. So she and my brother, they were moving around with my parents, but I stayed in Calcutta. And I think I have a lot of influence. My grandmother had a lot of influence on me. Uh, she got married also at an early age, but she was home tutored. My grandfather was very supportive. He was um, a lawyer, and he supported my grandmother, and my grandmother learned French, Urdu, and English, these three languages at home.
Wow.
And then she was translating poems, and she would be reading to us the say Count of Monte Cristo, or stories like that, Three Musketeers, from original French. We had the French books, and she will read it to us and translate, and she even tried to teach me a little bit of French when I was in school. She was a poet, and she was writing novels and poetries. And so this was my father's mother. And my mother's mother also, she also had a lot of influence on me. because she all she was I was learning maths from her, so the literature from one grandmother and the science from another grandmother. And
Nice.
so my mother's mother had a lot of ambition for me, and she would always tell that you will become this and you will become that, like that. I don't think I really understood a lot of it, but I think she put a lot of this kind of what one should do, that kind of thought. When I stayed in Calcutta, in the school, I was not very much interested in studies. I was more interested to become a footballer, for instance. So I
Nice.
would play, football and cricket. So at that time, we don't have a field or anything, but in the street you play. In Calcutta, it's very common, and I will be playing all these kind of things. I will be doing some puja, taking subscription from door to door. So I was into all these things, and so I was very free. I grew up, in a very free manner. I could do what I want to do. So initial period was like that.
Wonderful, wonderful. This is something which is always very fascinating to have very strong, educated women as part of your upbringing. That really makes a lot of difference. Even it need not be only educated women, because I have seen so many people whose mothers played a very critical role in upbringing. And in
Yeah,
your case, you also mentioned that added to that there is grandmothers who
yeah,
played a
they were
critical role.
really very, very
Yeah,
important in my
important. Yeah.
life. Yeah.
So that is one thing which is very unique, Srubabati. I want to kind of get a little bit more overview of this particular point. Is that this wonderful culture of a Bengali household having very deep connection to intellectual pursuits. I'm not saying that others don't have it, but this is very, very evident across various different stratas of the society. How was it for you to grow up in such kind of environment? It's very rare to have both grandmothers so intellectually invested. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that you will not have it, but generally speaking, both grandmothers having such a lot of deep interest is very rare. Could you please give a little bit more overview of the women in your house, because that is something which is very important, which plays a critical role in upbringing of a lot of children, not only women but also men. That is important point too.
So, my paternal grandmother, my father's mother, as I said, when I was born, she was a widow, and she was staying with me, and her brother was staying along with us in this same house where I am now.
Hmm.
And like, what I knew is that she can take her own decision. She is going to the bank herself. She had a lot of voice. Like, I remember that I used to fall quite sick in my school days. So once I had typhoid, and I could not go to school for some time. Then my both grandmothers went to the school, and I think the school headmistress said that, oh, your ward is not coming, and you should take her out of the school. And then my grandmother said that, is this the behavior that your student is unwell, and you should ask that about how she is doing, and you are saying I should take her, like, so she could protest, and she could say things which has to be said. And she was, as I said, she was quite well read. Our house was full of lots of books, like Bengali books mainly, like, Tagore, then Sharat Chandra Chattopadhyay, Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. So, and I remember I grew up reading all those books when I was very young. Like, in my school, I have read a lot of these things, and I don't know how much I understood, because later when I read again, maybe I understood the satire, the deep meaning. But at least I grew up as a voracious reader who will read whatever is there. So my house was full of books. So also my school was very good. Like, I went to a school here. It's a government school, Bengali medium, but we had a lot of things like music and art, and sports was very, very important. So the school is called multi-purpose government girls school, and so it really had a lot of purpose. And so they taught us a lot of things. And at my home there was, like, I don't remember anyone telling me that I should study. So I could do whatever I want to do. But my maternal grandmother, and I was not very good in maths, I was not getting very good marks in maths. And my maternal grandmother was very concerned about it, and she would be very tense when my maths exam is there. So, it was like that, but in my home, I was staying with my paternal grandmother, and there, like, it was like really very free, and I'm reading books and playing and not really studying much and aspiring to become a cricketer or a footballer and things like that. So, and also she encouraged me to write poems. And I remember in school I used to write these short poems. In Bengali it's called chora.
Mm,
And we
mm.
had a magazine which was called Anando Mela. So I used to send some poems and publish there, and in our school magazine also. So she induced a lot of these things in me, my grandmother.
Oh, fabulous, fabulous. Uh, Another point I would want to, pick your brain on is that evolution of a person who actually sometimes starts off slightly hesitant in mathematics, but many times does very well going forward. That is something I would want to kind of discuss. But before we go into that, could you just tell about this multipurpose government school you went to? I assume that is the foundation at which you got exposed to at least some basic science there.
Yeah, we had science and maths, and uh, like, yeah, I think maths was of course there, and where I used to get stuck was the simplifications,
Mm,
and
mm,
which after other, this much I remember. And but I think I was not really concentrating, and I used to be very sick also.
mm, mm,
But what I remember was that my maternal grandmother was very concerned about this. And then once my mother's distant cousin came to her house, and he was very good in maths, and he was staying there for some time. And my maternal grandfather requested him that he should see that why my maths is so weak. And I think that clicked, like, there was something which I was missing, some logic or something. I think that was when I was in either class 3 or class 4. And
mm,
after that I became very good in maths, like after the interaction with him I became very good in maths. And what our school teachers, I remember one of our school teachers used to tell me that she doesn't apply herself. If she applies herself she will do very good.
mm,
And
mm.
that was in class 5, she told me. And when I was in class 10, I used to become first in class. And, I received a lot of prize in the
Mm,
prize
mm.
distribution ceremony. And she was also there from the junior school. And I remembered it that she told me that if you apply yourself, if you try, you can do very good. So
Nice.
that transition happened to me, like maybe in class 8. Like, and my mother came back, like my father was transferred to Calcutta, and my mother came back. And then my mother said that, look here, you don't have to become a player, you should come. And so I remember I came back playing football and my nose was bleeding one day, and my
Wow.
mother said, enough is enough, you should now, don't do such things on the street. And I think that was maybe in class 6 or 7. And then from class 8 I remember, and one of the teachers who came, and I remember that she taught us atomic structure. And
Mhm,
there was no chalk, no board, she just explained to us what atomic structure is, starting from nucleus, electron, how was it all, how we got to know about all that, and like a story. And
nice.
somehow that really made me very interested in physics and what things are made of. So, and this is in class 8. So I think up to class 8, I was really very careless and happy, carefree, I should say, and happy
Mm,
go lucky.
mm.
But from class 8, I started taking study very seriously.
Serious.
And I used to like, and I would be then, it was a very much change for me. Like, I became really studious. In fact, my friend in my neighborhood, who I used to be very much friendly with, she used to complain that, you don't come out now. Like, earlier, every day after coming from school, I would just go and play with her, or like, but then she was saying that, she would always complain that you don't come out now. But suddenly there was a transition and I became really, really studious. It showed in my result also. So,
Oh, wonderful. Related to the kind of motivations and also inspirations you have got from that teacher. I can see also many of your talks and colloquiums have very interesting titles. That is something which is very fascinating. In fact, there are so many interesting titles what Srubabati actually has given in her talks. Catch Me If You Can, Chasing the Neutrinos. Now you see now, and now you don't see the oscillating neutrinos. Very, very, it's a great way to really, bring in that inquisitiveness into the science. And I can see that connection because I assume that that is probably ingrained in you in a specific way. So we will of course talk a little bit more about your outreach and other activities also. But before that, I would want to also get a grasp of the point at that particular junction in your education where you thought there is a physicist in you. What is that particular point where maybe it is a gradual process, or maybe it can be an epoch in the sense at one particular time you really feel that. Do you have any specific kind of junction at your education, especially at a very formative years?
So, I want to start from the very childhood, and because these are, not all the things of childhood you remember,
Yeah, yeah,
but one
obviously.
thing I remember that, when I was having my birthday, I would go in front of the mirror and try to see if I have grown up. So that was something I used to do. And then I would like to think, like, when I am in front of the mirror, that, then why left is left and right is right.
Mm-hmm.
I remember asking this question in my mind when I was quite small. And I don't think it was anything I did not know. It is related to science. It may be a general philosophical thought at that
Mm-hmm.
point of time. Another thing I remember that, that I was very fascinated about the moon. And when I was very young, I thought I want to go to the moon.
Wow, nice.
These are the two thoughts I remember when I was very young, but I don't think I really carried it forward. These are the things before I went to school. And after I came to school, then it was like, okay, like, as I told you, I was not very much serious in studies. And then I got interested in maths and physics. And
Mm-hmm.
mm, then I think it was more, I don't think we were like really that goal oriented, or, it was more of what people earlier than you are doing, like your seniors are doing. So I passed class 10. My teachers were really very, very encouraging. I was doing very good in maths and science both. And maybe at that time, my interest was more in maths. And then I changed my school. I went to another school. That also, someone told me that that school, because in class 12, 11, 12, the science is tough, and they said science is very good there. So I think it was a good decision. I changed because you leave your comfort zone, and you go to another school and you get much more exposure. And my school was a girls school, and this one was also a co-ed school, so you get a different kind of exposure. And at that time, I liked both maths and physics, but I did very well in physics in class
Mm-hmm.
12, like better in physics. And at that time, I think I was confused. I really did not know what I want to do. I gave joint entrance examination, and I got chance in engineering. But at that time, everyone is thinking at our time, it was like an 84, 85. So everyone was thinking we have to do electronics and computer. But what happened was, I had a health setback, and I think it is important to discuss this because, I think it can encourage people that even with health setback, it doesn't hold you back. So I had epilepsy when I was in class 12. So I would have some episodes of it, and then I was under some medication. And this was just before my class 12 exam, like 3, 4 months before my class 12 exam. So it is controlled under medicine, so no problem. But my father was little bit hesitant in sending me outside anywhere. So I would have got engineering in computer or electronics, maybe in B College Shibpur or RE College in Durgapur. But my father did not let me go. So I took admission in Jadavpur University with chemical engineering.
Mhm. Okay.
And I was also giving the admission test for physics. And I did the class for some time in chemical engineering, and somehow I felt that I should do physics. I don't know what, it was just a feeling. I can't say it's a very well thought about thing, but I somehow thought I have to do physics. So then I took admission in Lady Brabourne College, and then, when I was in Lady Brabourne College, then many of my classmates were giving joint entrance again.
Mhm.
And they would come to me to solve some problems and all. So when the time to fill up the form came, then I realized that I have a quite a bit of practice. So I again filled up the form. So I was quite confused, that what I want to do. And then that time my rank was good, but I got in electrical engineering.
Mhm.
So I again went to Jadavpur University, and I was juggling between, both classes. And then, but I wanted to see. But then after some time, after doing the electrical engineering, then, and so I took some 1 month break. A lot of our students took, my friends, all of us took 1 month break. And we had really nice friends. They took the class notes carbon copy, with the
Mhm.
carbon copy. So they gave us the notes. And then, there were 2 months, May, June, after which there will be an exam, our first year exam. And these 2 months, I read physics because I have to appear for the exam.
Mhm.
And after that, I really liked it, and I missed 1 month of class. My result was very good when the results came. And I did the electrical engineering class for a few days, and then I realized, no, I have to do physics. So it was like after a lot of trial and error. And sometimes in Facebook, these Jadavpur people catch me. So one of the person said, "Did you do chemical engineering with us?" I said, "Yes, I am that person." But yeah, so that's how, So after, so we used to read this treatise of heat by,
Mm.
this Shaha and
Yeah.
all this, and kinetic theory. And at that time, we go in that, I went much into, much more depth. I
Mm.
did all of these, and then that was my call. So I left engineering twice, and then I continued with physics. And I'm so happy that, everything worked out well. I didn't get electronics or computer. I realized I'm not at all good in electronics. I didn't like electronics so much when we did it in BSc.
Mm. The loss of certain disciplines is a gain for other disciplines. Wonderful. I'm also very glad that you brought up the health aspect, Srubabati, because that is something which is should be encouraged. And also, I'm very thankful for you to really bring it up because there are so many people sometimes who have setbacks, minor or
Yeah.
major, and this is something which is very encouraging for people to really learn. And people who are listening to this or watching this should take a very important leaf out of this particular book. Uh, Now that you've kind of laid the foundation, twice left the engineering, then into physics mainstream, that really tells that you really wanted to do the to do the physics. But coincidentally, I also did similar thing. By the way, I was
Oh, I
actually
see. Okay.
started as a kind of a mechanical engineering kind of thing, and then I moved towards the physics. That
But
actually is, yeah, it's a very interesting deviation also
yeah,
through
so
through.
my husband also did mechanical engineering from BITS Pilani, and then he went to physics.
Oh,
But I could
wonderful.
not complete the engineering course, so
Yeah,
but I
me
tried
neither actually.
twice.
I also went into mainstream
Okay.
bachelor's and masters. This particular junction of getting into the mainstream BSc physics, were you already interested in any particular aspects of physics, any specific topics or any kind of areas or any book which you really felt was very interesting, which caught your attention?
See, I am telling you this book by Saha, Treatise of
Yeah,
Heat,
yeah,
that
yeah.
I used to read very regularly.
Hmm.
And then when we did quantum mechanics, then I really used to like quantum mechanics a lot. So, and then, we read some of the other books of, yeah, I'm become little bad with names, but
Yeah, no problem, no problem.
quantum mechanics, I think at that time we had basic quantum mechanics, but we still had Schiff I
Shift.
liked Matthew
Yeah.
and Venkatesan also.
Venkatation also. Yeah, that is
That
another
book
very well
also I
known.
liked a lot. And so, yeah, and then classical mechanics from Goldstein.
Goldstein.
That is, of
Classic.
course, and
Uh,
we didn't do Jackson, we did Griffiths.
Griffiths.
And
Yeah. I
yeah,
see
so
that you also teach electrodynamics, advanced electrodynamics at
yeah,
PRL.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I assume you would be already,
But I taught from Jackson. I taught
Jackson.
from mainly Jackson, yeah,
Okay, okay.
and Landau,
Landau.
because
Yeah.
this is a more advanced course. So
Wonderful, wonderful. How was your BSc and MSc kind of part of your education? Were you exposed to some very interesting lectures or some particular topics which you found very interesting? Were you already tilting towards high energy or?
So for I don't think in BSc it also depends on which course are it is taught in a way which sort of strikes a chord with you. So we had a teacher in Lady Brabon called Evelyn Guo. She was teaching us thermodynamics and statistical mechanics, and we were terrified of her, but she was a really very, very good teacher. And her way of teaching was she will ask us the questions and we have to answer.
Answer it.
So, and she also taught us optics. So the courses that she taught us, those were really like, it was very clear to us. And then she also taught statistical mechanics. So those, because she will make you answer those questions in advance. You have to think of the course. So that was really very good. We also had a good electrodynamics course, and some of the courses were like routine, like it would be from following a particular book. I think there was a book also by some Bengali author, I'm forgetting the name, on classical mechanics. That book was also good. And then sometimes they would also give notes in Lady Brabourne. But these three courses, I can tell you, this statistical mechanics, and then later in the second year, like third year, when we had quantum mechanics, then that course was also taught to us very well. And it was like really clear. The concepts of quantum mechanics was really clear. So when I went to MSc, then I used to teach my friends quantum mechanics. They would come to my house, and it was very clear to me. And I think that in BSc, that basics was concept was clear. And I used to go to her home, like so she was very fond of me, and I used to go to her home and then discuss more than the what is there in the textbook and what is there in the syllabus. So these courses were really, I think it was very good for me. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you also continue to do your masters in the same place, or
Yeah, no, Lady Brabourne won't have. At that
whatever,
time, we had
whatever.
to
Yeah.
go to the Calcutta University at that time. So I went to the Calcutta University, the Raja Bajar Science College, and like that is a normal, more or less a gradual transition.
Transition.
Some people would go to, some other universities
Yes.
also, or there is also that there was an avenue to go to radio physics and electronics. And one of my very close friends with whom I used to study together, and he went for radio physics and electronics, and he was trying to tell me that now you can go. And but at that time I was very sure that no.
Uh,
So in science college, it used to be called pure physics. So
yeah.
I don't know, but that terminology somehow stayed. So we said, no,
Yeah.
we want to do pure physics, not some radio physics. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so but it is tough. Like, my friend, he is working very well. He's in IBM and he's very established. So it took some time, but I am happy with that
Yeah,
decision.
yeah,
I did it.
wonderful, wonderful. Also, a very rich history. That particular
Yeah,
place, the
yeah,
University of Kolkata, the Raja Bazaar. It has appeared in so many landmark papers
yeah.
in the history of science, in history of physics, especially. There's a very celebrated thing. How was your experience doing MSc there? Would have been very
Yeah, I think
interesting.
it was quite good. And I think initially I had a bit of imposter syndrome by going there, because somehow somehow, there were people from, like, I did not get chance in Presidency College. I
Mm,
was not very, aware of the
mm,
that, this admission test and one has to go prepared and all. But we have friends coming from Presidency College had a, different aura. So
mm,
I think we had a bit of a imposter syndrome, at least I had. But I think soon it went away, and some of the courses were really good. We had a very good classical mechanics and statistical mechanics course, and quantum mechanics was taught by my guide Amitabh Rai Choudhury.
mhm,
So he taught us, and so I think these courses were good. And soon I realized that, like, I am able to understand the class, and I am able to do the homework very well, and like, like, I think the experience was quite good. Like,
mm,
I think most of the courses were very detailed, and we read, like, the very good books at that
mm,
time. And then I took, we did not have a special paper, but we had an elective paper, and I took this particle physics as an elective.
mm,
At
mm,
that time also we faced some, like, people said that particle physics is not for girls, someone told me.
mhm,
So,
mhm.
I didn't, at by that time I know that, it's nothing like that. and
Yeah, yeah.
and we did very well. I took particle physics, and
Yes,
she
Shah
she's my
Gupta. Yeah.
classmate.
Oh, okay.
And so
Nice,
both
nice.
of us took, and we got the highest marks in particle physics elective. So this
Fantastic.
I remember because, it was specifically told to me by someone that women find it tough, so don't take
Mm.
particle physics.
Fantastic, fantastic. There is a big lesson for everybody to really, hear this. Especially this is a notion which has to be removed. In fact, in
Yeah,
physics, at least things may be okay. In engineering, it is sometimes even worse because a lot of notion that women don't get into certain streams of intellectual pursuits, which is actually
yeah.
absolutely something which is incorrect. But
So,
it's very important also to
yeah.
see and listen to people like you, which is very critical and it's
So
very important. Yeah.
it reminds me, it's a funny story.
Hmm.
In our time, mechanical engineering won't have many girls.
Yeah,
And when
yeah.
I went to Jadavpur for the orientation program, then lot of the mechanical engineering students would try that, some girls join mechanical engineering. I hope it has changed now. I did not follow
Yeah,
that much, but
yeah.
I hope it has changed now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Even I'm hoping because mechanical engineering is one of the wonderful subjects. It's so fascinating. It probably connects to almost everything.
Yes,
What is
yes.
possible there?
Mother
Yeah.
engineering, no,
Yeah.
mechanical, electrical, and civil.
Civil, exactly, exactly. So, what is that particular point, Srubabati, where you thought you are going to do research, where you will become a researcher? Because, as you can see, there is already a social barrier sometimes where people are telling that high energy physics cannot be done by women. But the similar kind of barriers are also present, unfortunately, even today for doing higher education, especially beyond MSc. Can you just tell us your story and how you thought about taking that decision?
I think it was natural because,
Natural, yeah. Mm,
I did well in my MSc,
mm,
and then most of the my the other my friends in my class, and they were, most of them who have done well, they were going for research. So I think that it was somewhat natural to go for research.
mm,
And I think, yeah, I don't think not much thought was there. I think we did discuss with my uncle, who was an engineer, that whether I should take up a job or not. But,
mm.
there was no such compulsion. That we are very privileged, no? So there is no such compulsion in my family that I should go for a job. And
Job,
then
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so then while doing because the CSIR net has started, and while in MSc I already gave the CSIR net, and I had already qualified.
Qualified. Mm,
And I went to for this IISc and RRI test also, and I got in RRI. But
mm,
again, my father was not very
Mm-hmm.
By that time, like, I was doing everything, but I was under medication, and my father was always had a hesitation in sending me outside. So, like, that's how I thought that I will stay in Calcutta.
Calcutta. Wonderful. Nice, nice. So, tell us about your initiation into PhD and the questions which you are interested during your PhD, and what is the kind
So,
of work you did for your PhD, and please give us
so
an
what
overview.
what happened was, in our time, the net was on hold for some time, and
Oh,
then
okay.
my so then ARC Amitabh Rai Chaudhuri, he advised
Mm,
me that I got in Shah Institute.
mm,
So Shah Institute had a post MSc course.
mm,
And in that post MSc course, we had core courses first, and so we again read mathematical physics, classical mechanics, electrodynamics, statistical physics. So that's good. The more you read, you go to the
mm.
depth of the
Yeah.
things, and we did some more difficult books, maybe in some cases, and solved some more problems. And I think by that time I knew I want to do particle physics and field theory related stuff, because I already took the particle physics special paper, and
Mm-hmm.
it was like I really liked that maths and
Mm,
the logic, and so I think it was really a natural transition to go to particle physics. And I was talking to ARC about joining him, and he said, okay, you can do a project with there was another faculty in Shah Institute, Kamalesh Kaur. So I did
mm-hmm.
my PhD work with both of them. And so then at that time, the solar neutrino problem was very, it was not solved. And then uh, RC asked me to do a project on solar neutrino problem. So I will read and I will give a lecture on board. And that's how it went. We had to write a thesis, and I had to type it in typewriter. So it
Oh
was,
my.
that age. So yeah, so that's how it started, and that's how, like, he asked me. He was also working on collider physics, like with, and then he asked me whether you would like to do collider physics or neutrino physics, and somehow, because I don't know, I had a little bit of more interest in astrophysics, and I thought it
Mm.
would be more related to that, and I said neutrino. I think it was a good decision because it has sustained me my whole career. I started with
Yeah,
that, and I saw some of the puzzles being solved. There was some very exciting time.
exciting.
So I
Yeah.
think he put me on a very good path. Yeah.
Superb, superb. Uh, it is one of the fascinating areas in physics, undoubtedly. Uh, it also dates back to rich history of, quantum mechanics, where the application of quantum mechanics, one of the first places, in a very, very huge way, was to also look at stars and also look at quantum mechanics and connect stars and quantum mechanics in very interesting way. Wolfgang Pauli had a important role in postulating. Fermi actually played a critical role in also, bringing it in the beta decay process. All these things, are such an important part of somebody's physics education. And you would have seen this in a very deep way in your own research. During PhD times, you also mentioned that you had this exposure to some wonderful people who were also doing research, excellent work. What were the kind of questions which you were really thinking about neutrino physics, Srubabati? Is there any specific aspect of the neutrino physics? I know that oscillation problem was in the air,
Yeah.
and that is turned out to be one of the very fascinating questions in physics. What are the specific questions you were broadly interested in?
So, at that time, the solar neutrino problem was not solved.
Solved.
And
Okay.
there
Okay.
were, yeah, so, there were many possibilities. And then, we did not know. And the idea was to understand the problem. And my thing was to see the neutrino oscillation solution mainly, but also to see if, from nuclear physics, or, from cross section calculation, or from astrophysics also, people were trying to understand by whether by adjusting the solar model, adjusting the fluxes, one can do something. So in my PhD and postdoc, I think I answered some of these questions, but there were also other interesting thing like the atmospheric neutrino anomaly that was also not
Hmm.
solved. And in fact, I started my research in I think 91, and then this 87, the supernova 1987A has happened. And in fact, my
Happened.
first paper was to understand the supernova dynamics. So my first paper,
Wow.
it's like it has a lot of calculation, but it
Hmm.
did not have a very striking result. But I learned a lot about this, and then I continued to work on the solar neutrino problem mainly. And what I was trying to do, I was also trying to develop a code to
Hmm.
do the analysis of the experimental results. And I don't think in India that kind of work was being done anywhere else. So I was writing to many of the people who were working abroad. That was slightly later period, not
Hmm.
during the PhD, slightly, because during my PhD initially there was no email.
Email, yeah.
So the way we were doing was, it's very interesting because ARC had a mechanism. We had a card, and we used to get the preprint list from Slack, and
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
we will check that which preprint we want, and then we had a card in which we will write. So everything was written, that preprint number,
Hmm.
author, preprint title, and then we put the address, we put it in the post office, and then those authors would send us the
Oh
preprints.
man.
So, but that mechanism was really there. Like when I went, and the mechanism was there, and my seniors have also done that, and we were also doing that. I think it was in 95, the email first came, not in the physics department, but in the biophysics department, and
Hmm.
ARC had an account there,
Hmm.
and we all used to use that account.
Okay.
So that's how then we started receiving the preprint listing of Los Alamos, the archive, and then we could request the papers by email, and then they will send. So one very interesting result came, and that problem is still haunting us, which was the result of LSND experiment, which
Hmm.
showed that there may be a sterile neutrino. And
Okay.
I worked on that, and so I worked on that, and at that time I wrote a single author paper, which was like, I would say that my supervisor could have easily been an author,
Hmm.
but because I had the idea, so he said, you write it single author. So
Nice.
I wrote that single author paper, in which I said, okay, apart from the three active neutrinos, there is one sterile neutrino, and that is solving this LSND problem. So what I did was, I did an analysis of all the data. So that's why I was saying that developing that code was important.
Hmm. Hmm.
But other codes I could write by after calculation, and little bit of smaller codes would do, but the solar neutrino code was little more difficult. And then I was trying to write that. And it took me some time, but I could write a basic code through which I could generate some results. So I sent this single author paper to PRD,
Hmm.
and the referee had some comments, in which one was to do the solar neutrino analysis. And it took me about an year to write that code, and then finally that paper was published.
Nice.
It is one of the first papers, which did the analysis with this 3+1 till, maybe until 1 month back, it was still a solution. But right now, some experiment has come, microboon in Fermilab, and
Hmm.
they are also disfavoring that solution. So one doesn't know what solves the LSND problem. So that problem still persists, but I did it. That's in 95.
Wow, fabulous. That's remarkable. Also, tribute should go to an ecosystem which was kind of
Yeah.
very free and in a
Yeah.
way encouraging for you to really also explore and do things. Very important part of
Yes.
any PhD kind of training. We'll now just move forward and go to the next stage of your PhD. As I can see, and also I'm aware of the fact that you got so many, fellowships and other opportunities to take up and also do interesting research. What was your plan during that particular time? Were you already thinking about getting into academics, or of course, post PhD, one will always have to think about how to really go and form kind of evolve into a more independent researcher. You are already trained in PhD. You have already done very interesting work. Then, what was going on in your mind? Like, were you
So,
thinking about?
I think it was, I think there was a moment when I
Mm,
realized that I need to stay in research.
mm,
See,
mm,
because what happened was I started doing in neutrinos, but
mm,
as I said, it was a very new field. No one was working really on this, and
mm,
then and there were some bottlenecks, but and also I got married.
mm, mm,
So and then my husband was initially in IOP and then he moved to Ahmedabad. And then I was thinking that, maybe I should go to PRL. He was in PRL. I
mm,
should go to PRL. PRL gives a 5-year PhD and PRL gives a 2-year postdoc. So that will ensure 7 years. After that, we can see. That was one thought which was in my mind.
mm, mm,
And but then my husband said, no, no, you should finish the PhD. Like he
mm.
was completely clear about it. And also, I was with a very much respected guide
Yeah.
and leaving him, and that was 94. So, leaving him, and I started in maybe 92. So leaving him midway, that
Midway.
doesn't make much sense. So then I continued, but then, when I wrote this paper, this single author paper, I said, after that, in 95, there was a summer school in ICTP.
Mm-hmm.
And I went there, and I and we have to put this paper on archive.
Mm,
And here it was little difficult, but in ICTP I had email account, I had email access, so I put this paper on archive,
mm.
and there was very good response. Lot
Nice.
of people came and talked to me, and I gave a talk on this. It was very well received, and by very famous researchers in ICTP, like
Mm,
Alexei Smirnov, and
mm-hmm.
I remember that he appreciated my talk. And also in CISA, there was Sergei Petkov, and I'm still in touch with them, and
Mm,
especially Sergei Petkov. I wrote papers with them later, with both of them. But I remember I went to Sergei Petkov and I discussed this single author paper, and I was telling him, because they were working on solar neutrino code, that if we can collaborate with them on this, writing the code. And at that time he told me that he was collaborating with someone who is no longer in physics. So then that idea didn't work out, but later, of course, I collaborated with him. And then, at up to that time, I was still not very sure that where my PhD is leading me to, like what it is going to happen. But when I went to ICTP, I found myself, a part of a bigger community,
mm.
and a community which appreciated my work. And at that time, no, you feel that, you cannot leave.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I think that was the time when I really realized that I should not leave research. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. This is such an important point, what you mentioned. It also is, it's a work of somebody's lifetime also, right? Until that particular stage, you would
Yeah.
have really, deeply intellectually invested yourself in doing things. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
something such an important point of one's life, actually. People don't realize, especially who are outside research, they don't realize how important it becomes part of one's life, right? Because doing research,
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
Also, like you are part of a bigger world, like,
world,
so
yeah,
that is something I think that has always been important for me, that
yeah,
whatever I do, it should be internationally very relevant. It
mm,
should be internationally acknowledged, not just in India. Like that
absolutely.
was always my goal. Like,
Wonderful, wonderful. These are all important points, not only for anybody who is just doing PhD, but anybody who is really wanting to have a career in science. Such an important aspect. Uh, uh, Srubabati, I also want to touch upon the very crucial element of women in science, because we are going to also come into the your later part of the research, because we are at a stage where you had to make a lot of decisions, as you very nicely also informed that there had to be decisions which you had to take, because unfortunately, in Indian situation, and it's probably also across the world, that the emphasis given to man is not the same as that much of to an woman, especially when they're pursuing scientific careers. Slowly it is changing, but there is a lot of scope for improvement and also kind of change. Um, it also needs kind of, very strong backing from the family. And second point is also an internal strength by the person itself,
Yeah,
who
yeah,
has to take such kind of decision.
yes,
This
yes.
is an important point I would want you to also, tell us about,
Yeah,
because there's a learning not only for women, there's a learning for every man and everybody. In fact,
yeah.
who is doing science. I would like I want you to tell about that aspect
See,
of it.
this internal strength, no, it builds up. Like,
Mm,
I don't think that we have it. Like, when you are in the situation, and then like, as compared to, earlier when I was a bit, I did not really know. At that point of time, I really knew what I want to do. Still, there are moments, where I might have deviated a little bit, but I think I knew. So for me, what happened was, it after my PhD, it suddenly became very tough.
mm,
So after my PhD, I went to Ahmedabad and I was expecting.
mm,
And then suddenly things became very different. Like, so I wanted to join as a PDF, and I think at that time I got offer from TIFR and HRI.
mhm,
But because I was expecting, and I have this health issue,
mm, mm,
epilepsy, so it is a high risk
mm,
pregnancy.
mm.
So it was not possible for me to,
Yeah.
go here and there. Like, I was not very sure of, there were many things, many extra checkups that had to be done. And we were in Ahmedabad at that time. And but I wanted to continue my research because as I think I was telling you, I did some very good research which was internationally quite well recognized at that time. And I think I should have continued, but I got little bit, bogged
Mm,
down by all
mm,
these. And then PRL, so it was very interesting. I thought I will get a PDF in PRL because
mhm,
PRL had a neutrino physics group. I had
mm,
already been discussing with them. So I had applied for a PDF fellowship there. And but then, it started getting delayed. And
mm,
in fact, it is, the kind of things you face. I really, so I took a visit first. What I was doing is, I am going from here, I am going to the university every day. Suddenly I went, I took a visit in PRL. So I was going to PRL every day, working, discussing with people and all. After 1 month, the person who was hosting me, he told me, he was very apologetic. He told me that PRL said that they cannot pay me because I have my husband.
oh, mm,
This was what PRL told me. Okay. So the thing is that I said, okay, then, that means CSIR will not give me a fellowship because I was with a CSI because my father is earning.
mm,
So these are the kind of, unprofessional things that were
yeah.
happening at that time. And I was there since December, and I stayed till April there, and no, May, and the PDF interview never took place.
It did not happen.
So
Mm.
they did not take the PDF interview. I know I was going to the PDF committee chair. I
Mm.
am the PDF committee chair now in PRL. So, so I had the last laugh.
Last
But
laugh.
like, it was so frustrating that you are waiting there, and at least they gave me an office, and I
Mm,
could come to the institute, and I would discuss with people. But it is somehow not the same,
mm,
without a position, it's not the same.
mm,
So then I waited till April, May, and then I had chicken pox.
mm,
So then my mother told me that you leave everything,
mm,
concentrate on your pregnancy, and you come back to
mm.
Calcutta. So I came back to Calcutta in May, and then my daughter was born in July. And within 1 month, they had put the date of the PDF interview.
Mm.
So I went by flight. At that time, flights were very expensive
Expensive, yeah,
compared to
yeah.
our salary. But my father went with me, and I went with my daughter to give the PDF interview there
With a newborn,
with a newborn, because that's how they set the date. And so I,
without any consideration for
no,
any
no,
other
no. no consideration. And I feel it might have been deliberate, because and people told me when I was roaming around in PRL, I was coming, I was working, then someone told me, we want to take you because you are good, we don't want to take you because of your husband. So these are the things I have heard. And then what happened was that I waited for like 4 months, 5 months, and it didn't take place. And just when I came here, they had the PDF interview date, but it was very crucial for me, with my daughter, to go there. So I went, I gave the interview, and somehow they were kind enough to select me. And then then they didn't let me join, because they said, we cannot give you the quarter.
Mm.
And I did not need the quarter. My husband was already staying in a house. So I don't need the PDF quarter,
Mm.
but still they did not let me join. Now, in retrospect, I think that was good for me, because, I spent 6 months with my daughter
Daughter.
and I could overcome that. So it was like, but if you consider at that time, no, then it was like, it was very much, you feel insecure, because
Yeah, absolutely.
you are not able to join. So it is 1.5 year break. And I was working in a field which was data driven at that time. The super Kamiokande experiment was
Yeah.
giving data, and I wanted to do this analysis and all. Like, it was a data driven field, and to be away from physics for 1.5 years almost, it was a bit difficult.
Difficult. Yeah.
And also, the infrastructure was not there. You cannot think of any crash or anything. And it was very difficult to. And I heard that, in the crash, people are giving these sleeping homeopathic medicines which will make kids sleep. So I won't leave her there.
Mm.
So I had a household, you know, some lady who will keep her, and then I would go to work. So it was very difficult. We didn't have a car to start with. We didn't even have a telephone, because the telephone, like, we had applied, but we didn't get it. So nowadays we cannot even imagine, like,
It's
that you
yeah,
go to the
it's
office
unimaginable,
leaving a
right?
newborn and you don't have a telephone. So if the daughter is unwell, then my maid will go to some place and they will call some shop. She did that once or
Yes,
twice,
yes,
but
yeah.
the kind of insecurity it gives you, we cannot imagine now.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a it's also a tribute to, of course, the technology which has evolved, but it
Yeah,
also is tribute to a human perseverance. These are all stories which might actually look kind of general, but for an individual it is their life, and therefore it's such an important thing,
yeah.
wonderful thing. Thanks for sharing. It's not something which people would be very readily sharing that, but it's such an important point. And it's also a reflection of one's love for science. This is something
Yeah.
which I do mention it in many times, in many places. This is actually commitment. If this is not if this is
Yeah.
not commitment, there's nothing else is, right? Because you're sheerly doing it because you really do like science. That's the whole point. Yeah.
And I faced a lot of negativity in PRL as a PDF. And what happened was, my work was going well, and at that time I started working with Sandhya. She is in Stockholm now, so it was really very nice to work with her. And we were working on these codes, and to do the analysis of super Kamiokande data.
Mm, mm,
And then I would have to keep a fixed time. So maybe I would go, I don't remember, my maid will come, so I will go maybe around 10:30 or 11, and I will come back around 6 or something. And there was no like 8.5 hours which we have now, that kind of thing.
yeah.
People
Yeah.
would come and go like that. And then and my work was going very well, this much I
Mm,
could understand, and this is the work on which all my whatever fame I have, that is built on that groundwork which I have
mm,
done in PRL at that time as a PDF.
PDF. Yeah.
But when my PDF renewal came, then somehow the head of the department at that time, he told that he is not from our field,
Mm,
and he was not even my PDF mentor.
mm,
But he told that she is insincere, and she is irregular, and she is insincere.
Wow.
Now, if someone says that she is not that smart, I will
Mm,
accept,
mm,
smartness as different degree. But if someone says I am insincere, I don't accept
mm.
it,
Right.
because that is a person I am. I am really, really very sincere in what I do. So this was like what a setback. You have a small child, you
Mm,
come to the PRL every day. Despite of that, as I said, without a phone, carrying lot of insecurity in you, and you try to do your physics. Sometimes I have also brought her with me if the nanny is not there.
mm.
But that was also very much criticized, that Mr. and Mrs. Mohanty are coming with their child. That was the environment at that time, and
Mm.
it's not like that now. It's very good
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah. It's
So
now changed a lot, I
even in
assume.
PRL, it's like really good.
Yeah.
So, and but then what they happened is they said that they gave me extension only for 6 months. And I didn't have a published paper, but I
Mm,
had a preprint, and that paper got published. And it had some new things in that, which is, still, I can refer to that paper sometimes. And
mm,
so then, if you don't get a renewal, like it's a lot of things, you can't go and explain. For instance, we were getting some book
mm.
grant, and I went to the library for the book grant, and library person said, no, you will not get the book grant because your renewal is only for 6 months.
Very
So
okay.
these are the kind of situations you face. And then
Some petty kind of.
yeah, and then it really feels very bad. And then you think that it is always us. I wanted to tell that all this fellowship and all, it just happened. I never had any and not only me, maybe many women, some men also, I
Mm,
never had any time to aim for excellence, because it was a struggle for survival. Whether I will survive in physics or not, that was the struggle. So then all these become like like, okay, it happened, very good, but I am happy that I could stay in physics, I could do what I started, I could do what I enjoy. So that was more important. And of course these are also important, but it just happened. And I think it would have been much better if I could really strive for excellence. I had that atmosphere where I didn't have to have this existential crisis time and again. But that atmosphere was not there after a certain period.
mm. Wonderful. Actually, this is such a such a very interesting kind of, yeah, it also tells that one can actually overcome hurdles in many ways, because today, as we see, you are very accomplished researcher, but also in leadership position. It is very heartening to actually see that, Srubabati, because this is a very big problem in Indian science, where the domination of only certain kind of gender has been there in the leadership roles. It's always nice to actually see people, accomplished scientists, but women scientists who actually have taken up roles. I see so many of people now slowly, gradually, kind of taking up those roles. It's wonderful. So before we kind of go into your current interest and other aspects, yeah, can you just tell us the trajectory you took from that particular point of your PDF all the way to your current position? Just an
So then,
overview of all.
because when I had this problem, then I thought I will come back to Calcutta. It was also very difficult to manage my daughter and the career, and to give it the time that it needs. Because also, it's a different time. I was much younger, and to run to do both things efficiently, and to get a proper support from the, you need some person to come and keep your daughter. Although both me and my husband were there, but still you need some kind of a support. And then also PRL, it was not very clear if they will extend it after 6 months. So I applied to Shah Institute and I got it. I took a decision to come back to Calcutta and take some help from my family, and then give the research the time it deserves. So I came back to Calcutta. But PRL actually afterwards, with because my PDF mentor Ranjan Joshipura, he really tried, and he really convinced the director at that time. No, she's doing very good work. and then they gave me the extension. So I completed my full term, and then I
Nice.
came back to Calcutta.
Mm,
And in Calcutta, we had a very good group, and I mentioned about Sandhya. Then she was student of Kamalesh Kaur, but she was free to work with me, and we sort of, and at that time, lot of data was coming. The solar neutrino data from the Sudbury Neutrino Observatory came,
mm,
and we were doing that analysis. We were ready, we had already developed the code that when the data will come, we will do the analysis. And that is very interesting also, because after I came back after 1 year, so somehow all my husband's colleagues, who are of the same age, they were putting their children to school. And my husband felt that, now if we don't put my daughter to a school there,
mm.
it will be very difficult for her later to get chance. So, then he somehow said that, okay, you come here, put her to the school, and I will take care of her. So I said, okay, I did that. But, it always doesn't go plan wise. My daughter would not stay without me.
Mm, mm,
So then it became a kind of a juggle between Ahmedabad and Shaha Institute and in Calcutta. And all the time you can't fly. Sometimes this 48 hours train journey you have to do. And
mm.
only that day we were discussing that how I did it with, we can't imagine now doing a 48
It's
hours train journey.
absolutely, yeah.
But so we become more comfortable, and we have lot more, maybe what should I say, like stamina to
Mm, mm,
counter adversity when you are young. And so then I was doing that, and I remember that when this particular data came, on which we have a very highly cited paper, I was taking my daughter to a cyber cafe, and I was working from there and sending mails to my collaborators, and who were keeping, because these data papers sometimes you have to keep awake the whole night. And in
mm.
Shaha Institute, they were doing, I will send my comments in the morning. We had an internet at home, but those times internets were such that they were very expensive. So you can
Yeah,
do
yeah.
maybe for some hour
Some
only,
hours,
and then you
exactly.
go to cyber cafe, and from there you do so like that. So I think I remember my daughter sitting on one chair, and I am writing those papers,
Oh
sending to
man.
them, discussing with them
Mm,
through in cyber cafe. So that was interesting. But when that paper came, no, we put it in the archive. Then
mm.
we were among the 2 3 groups who were doing that analysis, and the international community took lot of cognizance of that. And that was really a great thing to be able to do despite all these problems.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, Srubabati, these are all things which actually are very much part of not only your journey, but also is a chronicle of Indian science, Indian physics, especially because we kind of belong to the slightly kind of specific community of physics. These are things which should be registered, and I'm very glad that you're sharing all this information. Of course, this is a small kind of an attempt to become a kind of a oral history archive, but it hopefully it is going to be also utilized as a important information. These are all priceless. This should be a part of our
And
rich history. Yeah.
the point is this, that the kind of two body problems that I
Hmm.
faced, even now it exists,
Exist. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Couples
Absolutely.
are facing this. So
Yes.
initially when I was doing, then at that time I thought it's my choice. I
Mm,
decided to do all this, so it's my problem. I never expected much from the system apart from being fair.
mm,
But then when I become a faculty, and then I see that our students, PDFs are facing the same thing, then you realize that's a systemic problem. And that's when I told Rohini that can we do something about it? So we took
mm.
some, we discussed that how we can do something. And then Rohini led me to Projwal, and this Gender in Physics working group was formed. And
Yes.
we can take at least some initiative to raise some awareness, etc. So that is from this kind of realization that people are still facing problem, and there is still very little option to create two body opportunities.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Uh, I would also want to, since you mentioned all the other wonderful scientists, you also have been very central to something called as Hyderabad Charter.
Yeah.
This I have also discussed in some of my past podcast, not only with in conversation, but also when I have written some of the things related to physics in India, etc. Could you please give us a little bit of overview of that? Because this is essentially coming from the horse mouth, so to speak. That's important for us to listen. Yeah.
So, as I told you that, through Rohini, I got
Mm.
to be in touch with Projwal Shastri,
Yes.
and she involved me in this gender in physics working group. There were other people also at that time. Tanushri was there,
Mm.
Suchetana, Bandana Nanal, Rashmi Lakshmi. So that was the founding team. And then these meetings, and before that, India has been very much, all my seniors, they have been very active in participating in the International Conference on Women in Physics, which the the IUPAP is
Mm.
organizing.
Yes. Yeah.
And so there were a lot of attempts, there were a lot of discussions on, how to, so there were a lot of discussions, so how those disseminations can be, spread among people, more, and, how we can learn something from that and, use that. So all these people were discussing a lot. And in fact, Sumati Rao has a very nice article
Mm.
documenting this in one of the physics news.
News. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then so then somehow finally Projwal and Bandana, and then there was advisory group, all these senior people were there, and they decided that this group, and it was formed under the Indian Physics Association. So
Mm.
I really have no contribution in forming the group, but I was the member of the first group,
First.
and
Yeah.
then I
Yeah.
continued, I became the chair. And then this so then IUPAP holds this conference on International Conference on Women in Physics. That time it was held, I think, once in 3 years, or something like that. I forgot,
Mm.
but it was being held regularly. And then we thought that, whether we can hold such a conference. So I attended the 2017 conference in Birmingham, and we realized that we don't have anything like this. So the
Mm.
aim was to, if we can organize all this. And then we had organized it in University of Hyderabad, and University Hyderabad also had Bindu Bamba. Apart
Mm.
from
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
she is also very much champion of all
Yes.
these gender issues. And then, and there, it was thought that if we can come up with a charter where we will write the the points which should be followed for a inclusive environment.
Yeah.
And it is more on the form of this Baltimore charter, which is there. And from there, because it was in the Hyderabad University, so then we called it the Hyderabad Charter. And then what we did was that we circulated, and we took signatures from people. And signing it means that you can you will try to ensure
Ensure. Yeah.
inclusivity in your environment. And we also send it, because DST funded us very generously, we also sent it to DST, and it's in there. So these
Yeah.
are,
Yeah.
I think, basic principles which,
Principles.
like, yeah,
Absolutely.
these
Absolutely.
are the basic principles and basic points, and there are very good suggestions there. So,
Yeah, in fact, I would anyway, refer to that in the description and in the references what I'm going to put. That will be part of it. Anybody who is not aware of it, especially in physics community, should be aware of it. In fact, we had some time ago Dr. Shastri also visiting ISA Pune, who gave us a very nice talk. And also there are other people, Shobna Narasimhan, and
Shobna is there,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
a lot of people have spoken about this, and it's such an
Shobna is
important
there in our advisory group,
advice.
and then
Yeah,
Sulabha is there
Silva,
from
yeah, yeah,
Pune.
yeah,
Yeah,
Pune,
she's
yeah, yeah.
there, and yeah,
Yeah, in fact,
Sumati is there. Yeah.
yes, yes, it's such an important part of not just only about science, but also it tells you that what it is for somebody to actually be doing science in a slightly more broader context of the society.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's been an issue for a long duration, not just only in India. In fact, probably in India,
True,
in some
true.
cases, it might be
Yeah.
slightly better. In other places, it's even in advanced
Yeah.
economies, it's not been that great actually. Yeah, yeah,
India, certain policies are good, like,
yeah.
we have the childcare leave, and
Childcare, yes,
although it's not gender neutral, but still the
still,
childcare
yeah.
leave, and then, this fellowships after a break.
Break. Yeah. Yeah.
Those things are very good. Like, and all these things that, our seniors, they really did a very good
Yeah,
job
yeah,
of,
absolutely. No, even, but for, let's say, a daycare on our campus in Mysore,
yeah,
Pune,
yeah, that's very
I, I,
famous, your daycare.
I and
Yeah,
my wife would have not been able to actually work. In
yeah,
fact,
yeah,
because
yeah,
in my case, she works in an industry. It's much more, she had to then go to the outside the campus,
yeah,
and I was
yeah.
on campus, and yeah, it's not a very straightforward thing actually. Yeah, true.
So I think that's
So
Madhulika, right? She
yeah.
did a very good job in Pune, ISER Pune.
Yes, yes. In fact,
Daycare.
our colleague Mayurika Lahiri and
Mayurika, sorry,
so
Mayurika.
many of them actually have played a critical role.
Yeah,
Thanks
yeah.
to them. In fact, I've also done Pratidwani with her
Okay, okay, I
in the
will see.
past, and she very nicely describes what are the efforts she and her team. So many of our colleagues, but for
Yeah,
their real support, it would have been difficult. And we have wonderful daycare. Of course, all our children have now grown up beyond daycare age. It would be impossible for us to actually would have
yeah,
established labs, kind of function. And you're also relatively new to the city. Those are all things which are not very straightforward.
yeah, yeah. That
They play
support is very
absolutely,
essential. Yeah.
absolutely such an
Because
important
I
thing.
have worked in a campus, HRI, I was in the campus,
No,
and PRL, I was not. And staying in
mm,
campus makes so much
so
difference
much difference. Exactly.
of the, if when you have a small child, then it makes
Yes.
a lot of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
difference.
In fact, that's been one of the best part of also campus
Yeah.
life. It's very enjoyable also, to be very frank. Yeah. So Srubabati, please tell us a little bit about your trajectory going forward. Then you finished your postdoc and you went
Yeah.
back to Kolkata, and then what did you do?
So then, when I came here, then everything worked very well
Mm,
because, at that time, the solar neutrinos, the Sudbury Neutrino Observatory data came. And because I had already worked on it, I had some initiation. And then these people, Sandhya and Abhijit, they worked on the code. Even before the data came, we had a paper, on the and
mm,
some analysis, which is, prospective data. And then when the data came, we were the one of the first to put the paper on the archive, and the results were correct. And, it was tallying with others. So that
mm.
somehow established the Indian Neutrino Group.
Wonderful. Mm,
So it was really good. And then, we could write many papers after that. And then I was applying for PDF, and I got a lot of PDF offers also.
mm,
And but what happened was, then I was also applying for jobs. So I got
mm.
the JSPS fellowship in Japan.
Japan. Yeah.
Then I got a fellowship in France. And I also had an offer from Lisbon, but
Mm,
I decided to go for the JSPS in
mm,
Japan, in
mm,
Tokyo.
mm,
But I would say that I was not very confident to go alone with my daughter. And
mm,
my husband did not really have anything there. And so I was wondering what is to be done. And at this point of time, somehow the, HRI clicked. Like,
mm,
I went for a job interview there, and somehow they made me the offer. So then then I decided to join the job, and then I decided to not to take the JSPS. And the Spain, anyway, the visa takes a lot of time.
lot
So
of
I
time.
thought
Yes.
I will go to Spain later, so I can do that. So this was the thing, like, and I would say Raj really helped me, Raj Gandhi,
Mm,
who was my
mm,
colleague and collaborator in HRI, and in, supporting me, and, getting me apply there. So somehow that worked out. And I think that was really good for me, because
mm.
in the sense that, if had I gone as a postdoc somewhere, then it would not have been my group, like,
Group. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
it
Yeah.
became my group. So
Mm.
that, I think, everything, what happened later, I realized that happened for the good for me,
Good.
at least. So that way, this decision was also good. I didn't have the, I was Japan, the language is different. To
Yes.
go with her alone, I was a bit hesitant.
Mm,
So when I got the HRI job, I took it. And then from there, everything was like, very smooth.
mm,
Like, at least, HRI, as I said, it was in campus. The atmosphere was really good.
mm.
And, and what I could see is that in HRI, I was involved in many things. So I could not only raise my child, teach, do my research, but I could contribute to the ecosystem a lot. I was, in the transport committee, medical committee, in many
Nice.
committees. So I was was an important character in HRI. That is
Exactly.
also very important, that
Yeah, build it's
coming
part of
after
building of the
that
institution. That's yeah,
struggle,
yeah, yeah.
that and to contribute to the system and not getting bogged down by your own issues, that gives you a kind of strength,
Strength. Yes,
that
yes.
I am also capable of this. So I was very sorry to leave HRI. I think that sadness stayed with me for 2 years, and
Mm.
I was very much, thinking that I will come back. I took a lien, and I was thinking of coming back, but somehow then, the family
Family. Yeah, yeah. So
was.
then eventually you moved to PRL. Uh,
I moved to PRL.
moved to
So
PRL.
finally, initially PRL did not give me job because like they did not want to give husband and wife together, but the director got changed and then they offered me. So then finally, after some soul searching, I went there and I continued there. So I'm quite
Wonderful.
happy. No problem there also
Fantastic, fantastic.
now.
This is something a lot of people, not just only women, a lot of people who do research should take a leaf out of this kind of story, because it's a very interesting part of it. The other aspect I would want to also touch upon a little bit is the international, kind of network you have, because you are not only just an Indian researcher, but you also are very much in the thick of the action, so to speak, in the neutrino physics. There are so many things which you also are part of in terms of neutrino physics in the international community. How has been your experience working as a scientist with the international community? What is the kind of experience you have? Because I know each particular sub-discipline of physics has its own very nice communities, so to speak. And I know that high energy physics has very interesting, sociology within itself. Give us a very brief gist of that, please.
So I think, I'm very thankful to the international community. They have been very much appreciative always, because, when I got in Spain, then my
Hmm.
host, I saw in my recommendation letter, like it was not like a recommendation letter, it was
Hmm.
a form which we had to fill up. He mentioned about my single author paper and the number of citations it
Hmm.
has. Even though, it is from India, he
Hmm.
acknowledged that. And I always got lot of support, like I mentioned about, in ICTP and CISA also. And then I visited, I could collaborate with them. And then also, when I got Humboldt, I just wrote for a visit.
Hmm.
And then my host himself wrote to me that why don't you apply for Humboldt?
Nice,
So I
nice.
think when we wrote these papers, no analysis papers, and there were two, three groups doing, and that really established us. And DP Roy from TIFR, he gave me the first break. He gave me a plenary talk in Pasco's, which happened in TIFR, and from there I got another plenary talk. Then I got a plenary talk in the Neutrino 2004. Neutrino is the biggest meeting, and there
Hmm.
we had to do the data analysis, and the data was um, declared in that meeting. And
Nice,
my
nice.
collaborator here, he was awake whole night and he did the analysis and I presented the result. So all those competitiveness, no, which we could somehow mate with, and that was good. So I always got lot of plenary talk invitations, and then I could form collaboration. So I went with Humboldt. So that was a very wonderful experience in Munich to form collaboration. And when I went to USA with Fulbright, and
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
really liked
yeah.
the way the people collaborate in US, this
Hmm.
collaboration culture, no, that I really, and after at this stage, even I'm going to superannuate in
Hmm.
this March, because it's
Oh,
60 in PRL. Yeah, so it's a good juncture where you catch me. Uh,
wonderful.
so then, at even I went in 2023 to Northwestern University, and I formed so much more collaborations. And in between, I became like I was working more with my students and PDFs. But after going to US, my collaborative this thing has increased a lot. So that
Nice.
I really liked the way they collaborate, and that openness I really liked in US. So yeah, I think
Fabulous,
I learned a
fabulous.
lot. Yeah.
This is such a wonderful thing to also know. And This aspect of having this international community is always very nice. That also rejuvenates your interest. You also get to see that you are part of a larger thing, as you already
Yeah, yeah,
mentioned.
that
That's
is
that.
very, very important, and also what I like is that, when I go for long term, I leave my comfort zone. Like in HR,
Mm,
when you are in these committees and all, you are really very much, you feel, because HRI is a small community
community.
area, and there
Yeah,
you
yeah.
feel yourself as someone very different. But then I went to Germany, I am grounded, I am
Mm,
a part of everyone. So I think that is very important. Also, to
important.
leave your comfort zone, to stay in a different place, live the life they are living. Like when we go for conference, stay in hotel, it's bit different.
Mm,
But when you
mm.
rent a house, you live as they are living. That's a very different experience,
Different.
which I really cherish.
Nice, nice. So before we actually also, come towards slightly more broader aspect of your interest, etc. One of the key elements I want to learn a little bit more is about your leadership roles. You have been also, deservingly, applauded and awarded in various different aspects. You also are a fellow of various academias. And other aspect is also that you are head of the theoretical physics division in PRL. This is a very crucial element. You are a very active researcher and also, hold these leadership positions. How do you manage it? This is something which is very important for everybody to learn. Could you tell a little bit about how do you go about doing it? Because it has to be executed on each and every day, because these are all things which you cannot just be laid back. You have to be really, on top of all these things. How do you do that?
Yeah, that is true. I think that, one has to have a system.
Mm,
So, like for instance, when I became the departmental chair in PRL,
mm,
so I made it a point that, I will sign the documents twice.
mm,
All documents should come through office unless it's very urgent.
mm,
So I think that some kind of streamlining will help
mm,
to, manage your time. Other than that, I think I always worked on a priority basis, because you have to also manage home and
mm,
several
mm.
other things. So somehow, whatever is a priority, and I sleep little less than I should, because but maybe it will change after March, so I won't have so much admin responsibilities. So I am hoping for that.
Nice, nice. No, there's always a lesson, because women who really are this kind of leadership position, they tend to underestimate how much they are putting in. Sometimes I've observed. I'm not kind of generalizing this, but sometimes men tend to overplay that part, thinking that they are doing something very big and great. But there's a lot more a woman actually does when they really take
Yeah,
up such
also
kind of.
sometimes, one has to say no.
Yeah,
Sometimes one
yeah,
has
yeah.
to say no, because, because there are few women. Sometimes, you are in many committees or
Yeah,
something, but
yeah,
it is not always possible to
possible.
do justice to everything. So sometimes one has to say no, and that is also there. I'm not sure I'm very good at it, but still. But mainly, I think that whatever is the priority, I think that's true for men and women
Men, yeah,
also.
yeah, true.
Men who are in leadership positions also, like time management. I won't say that my management is really good, because in me there is a streak which tends to do something like impulse, like
Impulsive, yeah.
spontaneously. So I cannot say that I can be very regimented, but
Mm.
still some kind of a system
System, yeah,
should work, like keeping a calendar, or
yeah,
like something. And
true.
I always have some secretaries, so that also
Mm.
really helps very much.
Yeah,
Like they
yeah,
really are very helpful to,
yeah.
because morning to discuss what are the things to be done, and then accordingly take a note, and then
Yeah, yeah. That's an important point. So, penultimate question, Shwavati, what are the future research plans you have? Now, I did not know that you are also super energetic.
yeah.
Congratulations on a wonderful kind of thing. But do let us know what are the future plans you have in your mind for research or any other ventures you would want to take up.
Yeah, so right now, I am continuing to work on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
things that I
yeah.
am working. And the a new direction you can say is that I have started working little more on neutrino cosmology, on
Nice,
which I
nice.
had not worked earlier. This was, through my collaboration in the US, and
Hmm.
maybe I am going to Sydney, which has a very good neutrino cosmology group also. So maybe I would be able to learn something from them.
Wonderful.
And other than that, maybe, I can spend some time in literature. And as I told you, my initiation was a lot of in literature, but that
Literature.
had
Yeah.
somehow taken a back seat. And I hardly read books now. But I have a friend. She is a very good, poet and an author in Bengal. And then sometimes through her, I get to know a lot of her poems and stories. And sometimes I translated some of her poems, and my friends say that
Wow.
you should do
Do more.
some literature and all. So I don't know, like, that is
Wow.
one of the things that
Fabulous. Fabulous.
if I can do, like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. So finally, your kind of recommendations on art, music, or any form of things which which inspires you to become a better person. Uh,
Means
some
it
kind of an open.
varies. I as I said, I used to be very fond of books.
Mm,
I used to read lot of story books, but now somehow it has been, only mainly murder mysteries and
mm.
things like that, not much serious reading. And I watch movies mostly on airplanes
Ah.
and anything. But again, rom-com or some
Yeah,
light-hearted.
later.
Serious movies sometimes, but like because I think so much stress of work and all. So this and I am very interested in designing. So I
Mm.
do a lot of dress designing. That somehow
Nice.
interests me. Like, right now I do a lot of this sustainable. So, make dresses from your saris and things like that. So this is something which is my new, so it varies, but at this point, this is also one of the things which is very much, relaxing for me, because
Relaxing.
I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
just relax with those kind of ideas. And
Wow. This has been a wonderful conversation, Srubabati. In fact, yeah, it's such a vast kind of uh, uh, body of knowledge which we all have to actually kind of slowly get to know, and there's a lot to learn from a lot of things which you have shared with us, and there's a lot more to also explore, because in terms of the work what you've done, there's huge amount of mentoring you have done, a lot of papers you have published, you have also been in leadership roles, you have been also taking a lot of initiatives to encourage women in science. All these things actually have been integral part of physics community. I think anybody who is doing science and physics should pay attention to these kind of initiatives, and it also inspires the next generation of people who would want to actually take it up. And all I can say is thank you very much for all the things what you've been doing. Yeah.
thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. And I have watched some of your shows, and I really thought it's for more junior people. But thank you
No,
very
no,
much
no.
for having me.
There's not no specific aspect. Of course, anybody who is kind of trying to do something interesting. That is all the criteria. In fact, there's nothing specific about that. So
So I
thank you
was
very
very
much.
surprised when I got your mail, but thanks so much for having me. And it was nice to share a lot of things which I probably have not shared anywhere else.
Yeah,
But
yeah. No, it's my honor, to be very frank. I have to re-emphasize this particular point, because somebody who is really sharing their thoughts in such a specific and open way, and there is a lot of learning. As I keep telling, that it's not only for women. Again repeat, it's for everybody. Everybody has a lot of learning to do from all these things. Yeah, all I can say, as I mentioned, thank you. That's all.
thanks a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. So this is Pratidwani, where we try to humanize science, this time with the one and the only Srubabati Goswami.